Okay, so anyways, guys, hello there. Kind of got off to a rough start, but finally we are in the system. We are in the matrix here, and we're going to talk about the American Villages Project today together because I kind of finally had a big meeting about it. So what actually happened? So first off, I should tell you, because many of you are going to be watching a recording of this. First, I'm going to tell you what happened. Then we're going to have a little talk about what I need from the people who already joined the project, and as I mean, submitted their passports and all that stuff, and what I need from people who want to join the project now. Okay, so that's kind of part two. And then part three is, I guess we'll answer some questions because when I posted that I do a live stream about this, there was total confusion again in the chat. This is mostly my fault because I don't want to PR projects that I can't guarantee. But we're getting close to the point where I can guarantee the project. So the PR work is going to have to actually start pretty soon. But first things first, there is no website. This project does not have a website. If you found some website, it's not this. But anyways, so here we go. So what happened today? I went with good old buddy, immigration lawyer Timur, to the gigantic Titanic building where the Moscow regional government is. Remember, the Moscow region is separate from Moscow, the city. And boy, is it far away from Chekhov? I'll tell you that much by public transport. Holy crap. 2.5 hours one way. Anyways, so I got there. I actually did arrive on time, but due to some problems with good old security and getting through security, I wound up being 5 minutes late, but thankfully they didn't care and they weren't offended, which is, I appreciate. I respect that. I won't mention the person I met with because I'm not sure if he wants me to reveal that or not, so I'm not going to. But anyways, basically the deal is he said, sort of, now's the time. So you guys have this concept here. You have this land, and he asked a bunch of questions about it. But ultimately what it boils down to is they're going to put together like a final, Timur and I are going to give them all the info, and they're going to sort of reformat it into the necessary packet of, I don't want to say laws, the necessary project format in order to get this finally stamped, approved, and like with the electricity and with the subdividing the territory and doing the rezoning and all this stuff, all the stuff that we've been waiting for. They want to get going on this, and they said, get us all the info within a week. So for all of you who did, okay, so that's the background, okay? So we're basically, Timur and I are going to have to submit to them basically everything by like the end of next week. The important thing is for people who are already part of the project, even for like some people who've already come and are already in Russia or have lived in Russia for a while, but are still, native English speakers who, are Eastern Orthodox Christian, or at least definitely not against the church. You guys, if you've been here or whatever, this is open to anyone who meets those categories: native English speaker, Eastern Orthodox Christian, or at least considering converting. Well, we're going to give you guys a little bit of slack here. But anyone who is also willing to sign that they will not take any actions against the teachings of the Russian Orthodox Church. So this is for you guys, and if you guys are already in the country or not in the country, but if you've submitted all your stuff to me, then what I need from you is this. They want, for sure, a brief summary of what you're going to do in Russia. Now, guys, one thing is I know there are people who are the opposite of Tim. Tim likes things blunt, in your face, and with as few words as possible. And trust me, that's not the only way that we can live. And there are a lot of people who like to be very wordy. But if you can, concisely tell the Russian government, the Moscow regional government, what you're going to do here in this village. Now, they mostly mean this basically from an economic standpoint. So they don't really want to hear something about, it's been my dream to be able to take my dogs to walk through a field, or I've always wanted to see the Kremlin with my own eyes, or something like that. That's not what they mean. They mean like, I want to teach English. I want to do some small-time farming. And if it succeeds, I want to buy land in the Tula region or Tulskaya region. And because that's the bordering region kind of to where we're going to be at. And the land is real cheap. So, something like that. Or I want to, I definitely know someone in the project, we won't mention who, wants to do it because they want the freedom to write articles and books without certain 3-letter organizations knocking on their door threatening them. So whether you are a writer who feels that they're under threat from authorities, or you want to do farming or whatever, or metalwork, or whatever you want to do. Even someone even wrote that they actually kind of wanted to organize a local school for the kids. So some of you, especially I would assume more the wives, would want to do like set up a school. That would also be part of it. So sort of like your professional and economic, what you're going to do in the village, not just like nice touristy stuff. So they want from pretty much all the participants at least a breakdown. I try to make it like 4 or 5 sentences long. Like, say for example, I was writing about myself. I could say I live in the woods in Chekhov because it gives me the amazing opportunity to have the peace to create a lot of intellectual works, and I have the and I make videos every month. I also write a lot of articles, and I promote American football in Russia, and I can do that in Russia because I'm a great guy, but also because Russia gives me a lot of freedoms to express the ideas I want to express in the way that I want to express them, and that's my Chekhov Woods dream, right? So something kind of like that, very short, that explains what you're going to do, especially in the professional economic sense. That's what, remember, this is a government organization. They don't care about, again, if you dream of walking your dogs under a big open sky, they don't care. They care about what you're going to do professionally, okay? And again, remember, this is a society that is traditional. So, for people who might actually have homemaker, that also is a professional deal. And like I said, some of the ladies want to get together and sort of homeschool the kids in a collective sense. But you know what I mean? So the concept of this is a little bit open-ended, and we have to think about, in traditionalism, there's a lot of things you might not think about when you hear the word professional. But motherhood is a profession because it sure takes a hell of a lot of time and effort. So that is also part of the deal. But anyway, so that's group number 1 of people. Group number 2 of people are people who haven't given me their passports. And there are some people, like I'm pretty sure a man named Pete, I think he sent me the passport, but I don't know if I got it in time. There are a lot of people who sort of wrote me around like the very last wire of when we first submitted passports. And again, why are we doing this twice? The first time was to get the permission to take the land. We had to prove that there are real people who are willing to submit their passports, who really want to do something like this, to actually be able to have, in general, access to the land. Then when we got sort of access to the land, we kind of found out that there were a bunch of hurdles, like the zoning was off. How do we subdivide this land? How do we give it away to people? So on and so forth. The immigration quota issue, the ever-present immigration quota issue. And that's why we're sort of having to do this a little bit twice. But so if you are interested in the American Villages Project, but the one thing is, nothing binds you to anything. This is another thing, guys, where, remember, sorry, one frustrating thing is, in the Western world, I know that if you agree to something and you were to say, send a scan of your driver's license, or in this case, your passport, it sort of means something. In Russia, it doesn't, okay? So if you send me a scan of your passport and you say, Tim, I want to join the village, and I want to join the village because I am going to use the space to do custom carpentry. I'm going to do custom carpentry. It's going to be amazing. And I'm going to use all this nice space that's going to be part of the project to do that. I'm going to have a garage, and it's going to be amazing. I'm going to do the carpentry all year long there, okay? That's just saying that you want to show interest, you want to be sort of considered to be, for the project, but there's no one with a gun that's going to make you. It's not a commitment. It's just saying that, hey, this is something I'm interested in, kind of like reserving a table at a restaurant. If you reserve a table at a restaurant and later you go, you know what, I'm actually going to have to cancel this registration. I'm just not feeling very good today. What are they going to do, shoot you? It's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's like, yeah, you're reserving a table, but hey, if you want to cancel it, you call in advance, say, hey, I'm out. That's okay. All right. But the method of reserving is not a phone call. It is sending me a scan of your passport and telling me also what you are going to do here in a professional economic sense. Okay. So for all of those who are sort of curious about the project, I'm going to answer some of your questions right now, and maybe I'll answer some in the next few days. So everyone feels that they have their questions answered. But if you haven't sent me your passport, or are concerned that maybe you sent it near the last deadline and I missed it, then send it again. Okay, because that is critical. Because remember, you can't just be like, Tim, I want to do this. Well, if you don't show your passport, that means you are not really that concerned about this. And if you're afraid to show me your passport, then there's no way you can do this, because at some point you have to show the Russian government your passport. You know what I mean? At some point, they're going to be like, okay, so this person's going to take control of this piece of land. What's their name? Who are they? So if you're afraid of sending documents over the internet, I'm afraid, friends, you're going to have a real rough time with immigrating to Russia. In fact, you're going to not be able to do it. So that's it. So I think I explained. So what's happening and why we're kind of submitting passports twice. I hope I made that clear. Again, it's because this time we're actually not just getting sort of access to the land. We are actually getting the solutions from the Moscow regional government to actually make this thing now happen. It's going from theoretically possible someday to it will happen, pending the governor approves and various other people. Okay, so that's why we're doing it, and that the people who definitely sent me their passport, tell me what you're going to do economically. People who have not been interested, send me a scan of your passport, especially clear scan, and also tell me what you're going to do economically, professionally while you're here. Okay, I think that kind of covered the major update of what we're talking about. So I'm seeing some people like Pete. I don't know if I got you in or not. sorry, Pete. But it doesn't matter because we can always add you now. So anyways, guys, I'm going to be answering questions, but I saw a ton of remember, if you just kind of post anywhere, I'll be able to see your questions. Oh yeah, Keep Working Brother did an interview with Timur. He's got that in the chat, basically under the Telegram there. I did share that, but yeah, so that's very good. Nathaniel's saying send via Telegram. Yeah, in fact, remember, send via Telegram. And remember, there have been some imposters trying to communicate with you. Remember, if you send something, you send it to @ Tim Kirby Russia. No spaces, no numbers, no exclamation marks, no question marks. Tim Kirby Russia, one word. That's the real me, okay? So if you're worried about that, that is the best way to send things. Email is garbage. Don't send me emails. Send everything over Telegram. Emails are a lot easier to hack than Telegram is, and also they're very annoying. It's my least favorite communication format of all. It's just a nightmare. It's a mess, especially when you start replying back and forth to each other, and all that mess gets like recopied a million times. Oh, that's the worst. So anyways, yeah, so I'm going to be taking your questions now. You can raise your hand and ask audio questions. You can just write somewhere in the chat, and hopefully I will see it. But there were also a ton of questions about this just from like within the realm of the post that I made that we have an update about the American Villages. So I'm going to go through those questions right now, and hopefully that won't bore you. So hopefully you'll stay there. So anyways, I Googled American Russian village and had empty hands. Says, behold, a chair. That is, I believe I answered all these people in written form, but I'm going to answer them now. There is currently no site because, again, guys, I've said this a million times, but people don't, maybe haven't heard it. I cannot create promotional material to convince people to do something that I don't control yet. You know what I mean? I can't. I'm not Elon Musk. I'm not a shyster who can promise cyber trucks and trips to Mars and Mars bases and solar roof panels and then not deliver. Okay, I got to deliver, and so yeah, so that is why there is no site. When the first moment when we actually get complete control of this land and start to really give it away to people and start this project, that is when a site will get put together. Okay. So Lydia says, I can't wait to hear what the news is. Hopefully you enjoyed it, Lydia. And we are big fans of yours, and I cannot wait to see you in Russia. So let's see. What else? Someone was saying that 10,000 rubles, which seems very too cheap to buy. No, there was some misconception. I bought my house for $15,000. That's 1 million rubles, which is $15,000 was for the house in Chekhov, but it took about $7,000-ish to actually fix it up and get all of the utilities working. Okay. And that was a miracle unicorn buy. All right. So what you should really be orienting yourselves towards is buying something probably around the few million mark. But anyways, we're going to talk about the construction aspect of the village, I guess, right now. No one has their hand raised? Fantastic. Well, one thing, too, another thing that's another confusion about the village that I want to make very clear to everyone is that we are not sure whether we're going to be able to get a construction company to actually build everyone houses via like a government grant loan and then have you guys pay the government back for the house, or whether it's just going to be, here's your piece of land, which you're technically renting, but it's rent to own, and you're going to be able to build your own house on it the way you want. What are the pluses and minuses to this? I will get to you guys very soon. I see hands raised, but I'll get you some. What are the pluses and minuses to this? Well, the plus is that if some big company does it, first off, it'll be certainly done right because the company that we have in mind has built a lot of things, and they sure haven't fallen over yet. So that's good. Number two is it'll probably wind up being very convenient because, I mean, you go to a foreign country, and it's almost like you have a landing pad just waiting for you. I mean, yeah, maybe the shape of the house isn't quite the way you want it. I'm going to make sure that the company actually doesn't really do the interiors at all. If we do this, so that way the inside's kind of blank, so that we have a little bit of a canvas to paint, because it's kind of boring otherwise. Also, it saves you a lot of money. You know what I mean? To get an empty box that you can make the way you want later, rather than something that's like full of like finished everything, and then you go there and you're like, brass fixtures are garbage. I wanted painted black or whatever, aluminum, aluminium. Sorry, I know that annoys British people. We can do both. So that's the advantage of that. The advantage of building something yourself, well, it's going to be a massive pain in the butt. It's a little bit more risky. I mean, I know people who know reliable builders, so the risk isn't super great, but it's going to be this thing where it's going to be slow, and you're probably going to have to rent an apartment in Sierpukhov or Chekhov, and be sort of waiting. There's going to be this waiting game, and they're going to slowly do the foundation. But on the other hand, I'm not quite sure what the terms would be of having to pay off a house. So if you get here and you sort of already have a mortgage payment, maybe for some people that's actually scarier. Whereas coming here and being like, okay, we'll do the foundation like this month. Then we'll do the walls in 3 more months. Maybe that sort of more phase-based construction that's famous in Russia would suit you better. So I don't quite know what's going to happen. I think having it as a big construction project is much easier and efficient and better for people, but it is not the only way to do this, okay? As someone who kind of bought something in the middle of nowhere and fixed it up, we can build something in the middle of nowhere and make it really nice. So anyways, we have Ron Millo has their hand up. We're going to allow Ron to speak. Hello, Ron.
Hello. Hi, thank you. I appreciate it very much. Sure. I'll try to make as fast as possible. I'm a little new. I know you and I exchanged some communications in another social network. I apologize if some of my questions are rudimentary, but I have,
that's okay.
I guess I have 3. The first being is, I apologize, where is the exact location? I know you mentioned
it is around the city of Sierpukhov. In fact, I can help you with that right now. So here, let's get this bad boy open on the screen. This is one of those things where one day I would love for the sanctions to change so I can start getting donations and hire a producer because, and of course, it's going slow. Isn't that amazing? Why is it going slow?
No worries. No problem.
Hold on. Maybe I could do, maybe it's just the wrong browser. No, Yandex is being poopy. Well, anyways, then I'm going to have to explain it to you verbally here, which I guess I can. So essentially, if you look at the Moscow region, you have Moscow in the middle, and a part juts out, and then around it, sort of like a giant letter C, is the Moscow region. And if you go directly south from Moscow, directly south towards Tula, there is a city near the southern border of the Moscow region called Sierpukhov. It will be around that. So
which is how many kilometers from Moscow south?
That would be what, 70?
Okay.
80? Something like that.
Okay, I get it.
There's trains that go directly there all day long, and sometimes all night.
I live in Moscow. I'm 10 years an expat. Yeah.
Dude, sorry, I'm mixing you up with people, man. Everyone's voices kind of sound the same, but
that's okay, man.
But anyways, yeah. And the thing is, too, remember, with this is again, this is a project about freedom. So let's just say you already have your life established sort of here and you're a foreigner. That does not at all exclude you from doing this, man, because, you know, there's a dacha, there's hanging out. Remember, the Russian Constitution guarantees people the freedom of movement, which means, you know, you want to go hop in the city, hop back. I would just really appreciate if you'd use the house kind of half the time or a third of the time, you know.
I want to move there permanently.
Well, then there we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it is a little bit far. It is a little bit far from the train station, but that's why God invented cars and, you know, carpooling. I assume that a lot of carpooling is going to go on because, yeah, it is not walking distance to a train station. It is.
Yeah, no. That's actually, you know, I want to live kind of the suburban life, which I got accustomed to in the U.S. So 70 kilometers is nothing. Okay, so it's south. Okay. The second question I had was that from what I'm hearing, this project is being taken on by contractors that have already sort of either been hired or are in the process of being hired. So my question is, if I had my own contractors, would I be able to build the house
we just talked about that is undetermined. It is undetermined, so I can't tell you which way. I don't know what's going to happen. Now, let's just say hypothetically, we do get a deal where someone is going to come in and do this as like a big construction project. I guess on like an individual level, of course, we could agree where we could just leave one like plot or for you because you want to do it yourself, all yourself. I mean, we could leave it untouched. But at the same time, you just also have to understand that once that happens, the construction company is never going to come back. You know, they're going to do it all in one flat go, and then they're gone. They're out for all eternity, you know. So the question is, you know, is that really what you want to do? But, I mean, we could do it.
Would there be potentially, because it's going to be considered a sort of village, the only thing that I could compare it to, like sort of a homeowners association kind of deal? I know that that's not exactly how it works in an apartment complex, but where there are perhaps certain rules that the municipality or the collective decides upon, where, for instance, you can't just decide one day that somebody's going to come in and build a giant Walmart, right, without the consensus of the majority. Would there be something like that?
Remember, the zoning of the land would not allow for that. All of the land, it's going to change its zoning status, and as it stands now, the status will actually be like dacha, okay? So the only thing you can essentially build there is a dacha. Or maybe like, you know, like sheds and stuff. So you like, there's literally no way to build a Walmart legally.
I got
Right.
you. And with the homeowner
association is one thing that is important to note is one of the things that's not good about America are the homeowners associations, because you get some sort of Napoleon complex individuals trying to run other people's lives. And the whole point of this thing is for freedom. So let me tell you one thing. Russian law does not allow anyone to sign away their rights, which sounds weird, but it's the way it is, and it has certain factors. And one of them is no matter what cutesy-poo local laws, because each like of these dacha communities can create like homeowners association, its own laws and rules. They don't mean anything. You cannot trump Russian law. So if Russian law says you're allowed to say, I believe in Moscow, it's till 11 at night you can make noise. I always forget because I'm a quiet person.
Yeah.
Well, let's just say in Moscow you can make noise till 11 at night. We could pretend and play like we're little Putins, and we're going to say at 6 p.m. everyone has to be quiet. You call the police on someone and say it's noisy at 7 p.m. They go, you're idiots. The law says otherwise. But we're a homeowners association. Go after yourselves. You see? So nothing that these homeowners associations rules are usually just jokes, basically. They're shams. They don't have any legal value. So you really shouldn't worry about that. I think for the beginning, it's going to be more of a homeowners dictatorship, because that's a lot easier to get this thing kind of running. And then we'll kind of go from there. But again, like I said, even with myself in charge, there's really not that much. You just have to obey the Russian laws, and the Russian laws are going to tell you that, like, okay, so what can you do by your own house, right? You can make noise from something like 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. You can do some sort of like light industry as long as it's not too air pollutive in terms of making other people smell it. You want to do like iron forging, or you want to do carpentry, or you want to have, do gardening and stuff like that. You can kind of do whatever you want. Russia's a lot more open in terms of what you can do in like a suburban environment than the United States. The only thing that you cannot do by the law, that might be something where we would make a special exception. But again, if we change the land status and it becomes dacha status, and we make this rule, it's essentially our rule and not so much the government's rule, but they don't care. That's the difference between Russia and America. They don't give a shit. So we could have a rule where we say, okay, livestock is okay.
That was going to be my next question, actually.
Yeah. Because livestock currently, as it is now, in the Soviet Union, you could have chickens and I think maybe more, but they got rid of that. So for now, like dachas are supposed to only have gardening of plants, but I think we could get around that. Also, the eastern part of the village is going to be dedicated to farming. It's going to be just an open field for people to use, and I think that that's where all the stinky animals could go. That's currently in the project or the plan that I submitted to them of how everything's going to be laid out. We have this, I don't know what it works out to be then, 7 hectares or whatever of open field for animals and stuff, and that should be enough. But it'll be shared, unfortunately. It'll be a little bit of communism because a lot of people want to farm, and I don't, we'll have to work something out. But I'll put it this way. If you really want to farm, then what you're going to have to do is buy a small piece of the Tula region, which is right next door.
Not so much farm, but maybe actually like reserve a space. My thinking was that there would be a space for myself and my family, and then I can buy more land to farm. But if you're saying there's already a reserved portion of land, and maybe we can co-op somehow, that would be that actually would.
Well, again, dude, I'm flexible. Like, I want this thing to fill up, and let's just say, well, the thing is the land amount, when you start cutting it up, it kind of gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and how many people and how much stuff can we have? And so a little bit depends on who's coming and where and when. But how I've already thought about this, that I think one of the best ways to do this is to, when people start coming, first off, the way the plan is, this is something new that I don't think I've mentioned. The northern part has smaller plots of land. Okay, they're smaller because there's some people, like I mentioned, there's someone who just wants to sort of like write without censorship. Well, they don't need that much space for a laptop. So I'd be kind of like, dude, if you're never going to really do any of this gardening stuff, you can take the smaller piece. Whereas in the southern part, then there's the bigger pieces. And of course, I think it would be most logical to fill this in, not like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but kind of going like 1, 4, 7, and so on. So that way, if people start to make money or get established, maybe they can buy like the plot of land that's next to them. Although I don't know how buying things would work in this context because there's kind of no way to buy it. But that's something we can work out.
Which then beckons one more question. Again, it's because I'm new. How large are for instance, southern portions of land, at least potentially? Okay,
so what we submitted to the government is submitted. Why it is the way it is was to appease the construction company, because I'm pretty sure that, in all honesty, especially with how hard it is to move money now to Russia, maybe if this was a few years ago and you could sort of wire $60,000 or $30,000 or $40,000 to Russia like that, and life was easy, then maybe this construction company thing would be less appealing. But the thing is, it's really hard to get money here now.
Yeah,
and
I hear
so,
you.
And so the
I might be able to help with that.
Well, that's something. We'll talk about that later. If you have a guaranteed solution that actually works, I'd love to hear it. But maybe not so much right now. We'll talk about that later. Sure. But anyways, so what's the logic? The logic is the construction company looked at the initial plans. The initial plans were to give everyone a quarter of a hectare. Okay, that was the initial plan. And they looked at that and they were like,
and it's 2.5 acres per hectare, correct?
Oh, gosh. Oh, man.
I believe
Let's see. Hold on. Right. How many acres in a hectare? Oh, my gosh. Where is it? In a hectare. There is, let's see. Well, why did it do it that way? Well, that's kind of stupid. 1 hectare is how many? Yeah, 2.47. So basically 2.5.
2.5 acres, right?
So that
so
was
you're
the
talking
original,
about 3/4 of an acre per plot, or whatever the math.
Well, hold on. We gotta
2.5 by 4. I'm not a mathematician.
Relax, man. Relax. Gotta. Oh no, the computer did not like that. Not having a 0. Why not? Why can't it show 1/4 of a hectare? You scumbag. All right, not you, my friend, The computer.
No, I know.
Scumbag. Okay,
so it's about 0.625. It's about 0.625.
Yeah.
acres.
So that was initially. So yeah, 0.6 acres was sort of the initial plan. When I showed that to the construction company, they were like, "No." They were like, "You
Why?
realize that if we're like, basically, they were like, the price that we would have to set for you to make this profitable." So basically, we talked about like, how is this going to work out pricing wise? And they were like, "How about this, bro?" So what they actually suggested is something I totally disagreed with. So listen, this is something important. This was their suggestion that I'm never going to take. Okay, it is screw that. Their suggestion was to do plots of 400 square meters, which is 0.09 acres, which is tiny. That is teeny tiny. That is garbage.
Well, that's because Russians are used to that. Because
Russians are used to 600. Russians are used to 600, which is 0.15 acres. Basically, that's what they're used to. So, anyways, I asked them, "Well, dude, guys, what's with this? Maybe you guys are interested." And they were like, "Well, to be honest," they said, "to be honest, the overwhelming majority of people who buy homes in the suburbs don't use any of the land, and it becomes an annoyance for them." I was like, "Guys, this is not the group of people you're talking to. You know, this group of people isn't moving to like the very edge of the Moscow region in order to like have a California lawn where people are just going to pour gravel in there." And they're like, "Okay, well, here, what's your counter offer?" So I told them that the plots we should have 2 plot sizes. We should have what I just told you is the 600. So there actually will be a 600, which is a 0.15 acre plot. That's some northern plots. And there's a bunch of them. And they are for people who don't want to do yard work. Okay? They want to be able to have a house, and a big house, by the way. A big house, big garage, not a lot of yard, or maybe little house, little garage, a lot of yard. Okay? And for the people who actually are going to do something, who are actually going to sort of like, well, they want to have their own garden, or they want to have space, or they want to have chickens, or whatever. They want to play basketball in their own territory. They want to make custom guitars in their garage, and they need to use machinery. So if you go and do something like 2,500 square meters, that comes to 0.61 acres. So more than half an acre. And that seems to be the size that would appease the construction company. And I think would also make a lot of you guys happy.
Would I apologize. I know there's people waiting to ask more questions, but this raises
actually
more
so
questions.
far, no, I don't see any hands raised.
Oh, okay.
So if anyone wants to raise their hand, you're next after Ron. But anyways.
Yeah, sorry to take up so much time.
All right.
For instance, in such a place, would opening a restaurant be considered something that would appease the local government? In other words, some sort of a natural restaurant with the local. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you can do that. You could just open that, and that's one of those things where, because the government doesn't care, yeah, you could just stick that on your own. So say, for example, yeah, you get the basically the property, because well, the way it's drawn as of today, they're long. So say you want to do that, you want to have, then you're going to have a long piece of territory, which would be to like 23, 24-ish meters going this way, and then 50-ish meters going this way. Okay.
I gotcha.
Let me, something like that.
Yeah,
so basically, what you can have the restaurant on like the street part, and then put your house behind it. Or you could do the American classic that used to be legal in the United States during the 1800s, would be have the restaurant on the first floor and build a second floor for living space. if you want to. If you don't want to have a yard, you can do it,
one, right?
A little like that. So,
okay.
But yeah, of course you can do that. That's one of the things. The whole point of like the freedom of Russia is for this kind of thing, you know.
I'm the freedom of Russia. I'm very well aware of. I've been here 10 years.
Yeah. Of course, there's probably going to come a day where there is going to be some sort of like people who are going to have to. There's going to be some health and safety inspection if it gets big. If it gets little, I don't know.
I think that's fine. I think that's fine. I mean, I think that's right, actually, technically speaking. Yeah. I mean, it should be.
I like to live dangerously, but yeah. So anyways, that's a real good option. So something to think about there. But so anyways, again, the whole point of this thing is to go back to the old days in America where you could more or less do whatever the hell you wanted. And where you were free to do things like have a store and then live above it. Why is this not an option anymore? Why is this bad? Mm-hmm. I think this is good. That's what freedom is called. So, and
finally, I imagine that this village is also going to be supplied with all of the water reclamation systems necessary, or do we have to like drill
that depends on the generosity of our friendly governor. We're going to submit to him a project that's going to say electricity, water, gas heating, and of course the
internet.
The telephone poles have to be ready to receive the internet from some sort of private company. I know people who work at these internet companies, and hopefully they won't start hating me in the near future. But you never know.
Yeah. or MTS satellite or something that we're
satellite's bullshit. I want hard line. I want 300 megabits a second and no less.
I hear you.
So, but anyways, so we're submitting we're submitting a best case scenario to the governor because you submit this best case, and so that way maybe they won't give us water. Maybe they'll be like, well, tough duties,
and then you have to drill a well, but that's still an option, of course.
Yeah, that costs a lot of money. Well, not
really. As long as there's a water source, it's not that bad.
No, all I can say is I wish I had
comparing it to U.S. prices, I don't think it's that bad.
Yeah, gosh, I wish I had those 90,000 rubles back. But anyways, So anyway, someone had their hand up, but they vanished. Where are you? So I'm gonna get going here.
Thank you. I really I appreciate it.
Did you send me your passport?
No, but I'm just getting into this, and I'm already here in Russia, and I already have a permanent residency. And
you just have to send me the passport, dude. You have to send me the passport and your plan.
By the way, what's another question? I'm going to be getting my Russian citizenship in the next few months. Hopefully, am I immediately exempt from this village if I do?
No.
Okay.
So send me your foreign passport and your plan, especially about the restaurant. That's awesome. That's amazing. That is exactly the thing the government wants to hear because you're going to generate income and you're going to pay taxes. It'll be amazing. But anyways, goodbye for now. There was a lot of questions. Someone had their hand raised. You had a beautiful white background on your icon that was glowing white, and you are gone. That is a shame. Well, anyways, maybe someone else wants to chit chat. I don't know. But let's see. Oh, I think the computer is actually starting to work. So I'm going to answer. So please, if anyone wants to raise their hand or ask questions, I should check the chat. Let's go back to the original chat. Oh my gosh, I think there's a lot. So anyways, I'm going to try to find Serpukhov on a map. So let's try to share the other screen. Oh my goodness. Will it work or will it not? This is share screen. We are going to screen 2. Begin. All right. So here we are. Anyways. So here is your Moscow. It's in the middle. See, it's right in the middle of the country, right there. This is Moscow, and then we go from Serpukhov is. This is hard to see. Let me increase on this screen. So Serpukhov is right here, and let's see if we grab the ruler thing and we go from the edge of Moscow down to the edge of this. Oh, wow, I guessed really good. 71.7 the Serpukhov. Okay, and as you guys can see, there's this huge superhighway that goes there, which is generally doesn't have a lot of traffic. And there's also a train line that follows the highway. You can't really see it on the screen very well, but there's the train line, and it goes down through here, parallel to the highway that is where it's at. So, yeah. Anyways, I always forget how to stop this. Stop sharing. Stop. All right. And now I got to make the screen smaller because I'm bigger on the screen than I am in real life. Anyways, there seem to be some questions in the chat. So, thanks for the question. Yes, thanks to Ron for the question. I also say thanks. Good questions, Ron. Much apprecited. I said, Serpukhov, you should be able to find it on a map, says Pete. Yeah, we just did, but yeah, just write it in. I want to start a business in Russia, but I may have an English teaching job offer for the next year in St. Petersburg. You can, write about your dream. Always, again, write about what you're dreaming of doing via the village. I mean, you could also write, I have the dream of starting this business, but for the meantime, I'm going to teach English. Boom. Done, baby. No, I'm no vegetarian. Yeah. Any community needs leadership, JF says. Well, yeah, but that's my problem. But one thing that it doesn't work is, trust me, with these like dacha communities here, although you guys are foreigners, so maybe there's a difference in behavior. If it isn't a dictatorship, it doesn't work. It's just a bunch of hen clucking and conflicts and whining. We need to get this thing up and running before it's basically gonna be like Marx's theory, where we have to have a dictatorship of the proletariat in order to usher in communism where everyone has power, something like that. So do we? Well, oh boy, there's a information, Steve. Oh boy, someone is there seems to be a fight going on in the chat. I don't like this. You know what? I don't know. That's not good. That's not good. Some people are arguing there. I think, unfortunately, one person I see who's arguing, although they haven't really violated the rules, they argue with people a lot. They might have to be removed from the Kirby Empire here pretty soon. Live stream has started. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so I guess that's it. Ron's back. All right. Hello.
Yeah,
Ron.
Sorry to be at the annoyance, but just two more quick questions. I really apologize. Is it possible?
Hold on. A man named Imam Dr. Jeho. Oh, it's not increasing the size of his name. Jeho something. Dr. Imam Doctor. We'll talk to you after Ron here because you said you wanted to talk. Anyways, Ron, take it away again.
Yeah, sorry. Is it possible to buy 2 plots of land for one?
Well, the problem is again, what I mentioned that before is that it's kind of hard because it's not a buy-sell thing. Mm-hmm. This is a philanthropic endeavor. So if it were something like the government just gave me the land and it became my possession and I could do whatever I wanted with it, then yes. But that is not the rule. I see someone raise their hand. Behold a chair. So remember, Behold a chair is going to be on real soon. But you have to remember that, like I said, I think it's going to be more of a thing of maybe if time goes on and the village doesn't fill up, we could just sort of give away some plots that are kind of a little bit half deadish. And I want to spread people out a bit so that way they have the chance to get an adjoining plot to their territory.
What I meant by that is to be able to buy 2 plots of land to have more land. Not to buy sell, but
again, there's no buying function. But again, what you can do is there's a ton of stuff for sale around Serpukhov. And the outer Tulska region, all right.
Okay. So here. And final question: is there water nearby, like water river?
Yes, the Ob River is like a kilometer and a half from the northern tip of the village.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. Sorry.
All righty. So here we're gonna have take Ron off there, and behold a chair. You're on. Behold, oh my God, your user icon is amazing. It is that Greek philosopher who lived in a barrel with dogs. But it's also Pepe or something.
I've been accused of being Diogenes, so.
Well, all right, let me boost up your volume here. I cannot hear you. All right.
I've been accused of being Diogenes. So somebody made that for me.
Oh, I see. I can never remember his name, but Diogenes, yes, letter D, yeah. Diogenes.
Alexander the Great said to him, if I could be anybody else besides Alexander the Great, I would be Diogenes. And Diogenes said, I would also be a Diogenes.
That's very much in his style, from what I understand. I actually I had the chance to meet the probably still living British equivalent to that guy. Very interesting gentleman in Kazakhstan, British guy who lived there but traveled the world. But he literally like lived that guy's lifestyle. Like sometimes he just walk around naked, like at like house parties and stuff, just to prove the meaninglessness of clothing and our own pretenses. And yeah.
I appreciate his effort. That sounds pretty.
Yeah, and so yeah, very interesting, very strange individual. They could make a TV show about his life, but anyways, I believe he is lost to time here. I don't know whatever happened to him. He wasn't an internet person, but anyways, what's your question?
Well, I've been talking to Abibus, and you'll have to excuse me if I go off point. Just throw me back on to what we're talking about.
Beavis is listening, so if you're going to tell him to go F himself, you better be careful. He'll come on here and bite.
He's a good man. So I'm helping a friend here in central West Virginia on his 70-acre farm plot that's about 20 acres cleared. And we plan on having sheep to help rehabilitate the land. We plan on terracing the property because it was what I call flat farmed, where even though the hills are rolling, if you've ever been to central West Virginia, it's a lot like the Ozarks. You get a lot of soil degradation because all they did was just clear the trees away and then all the soil washed down to the Mississippi. So it's basically brick clay. So I'm just giving you
imagine that in my mind.
Yeah, I'm just giving you like a quick overview because I want to help him out and get established. He's stuck here in the States. He's not leaving. He's definitely dedicated to being here. But so I have a caravan. I have a little motorbike. I have a automobile. I plan to leave all that shit here and just take like a 25-pound pack with me. But after I get all the, I had a brain injury and I lost a lot of like, what do you call it? I need to redo things. I need to relearn things. And so one of the things is after I do all the chickens again and I do all the sheep again and stuff and we get all the paddocks and everything's rotated, after I've gained all that real world knowledge again, then I want to go over there and replicate it over there because I don't feel comfortable here in the States. I don't think I ever have. I was born here. I was born in Ohio, but I just don't feel comfortable at all. And I've been overseas to Europe. I've met Russians. I've met Eastern Europeans. I lived in Germany for a long time, but East Germany. And you say it's 70 kilometers from Moscow. To me, that's really close to a big city. I don't like being anywhere near a big city. I'm very comfortable being by myself or being on the road.
I don't know. Chekhov is 50 kilometers, and I'll tell you what, in the woods, it's pretty dark.
That's fine. So, it's pretty dark out here. It's the second most darkest place in the United States. People come out here with their telescopes, so pretty dark.
No. Well, I mean, that's an interesting idea there. And it's good to sort of do like a test run there. But again, doing something in a foreign country always presents some sort of new challenges. But then again, we're going to have a little bit of a team built up here. So I think a lot of people are going to be going through similar experiences. And, hopefully that'll work out. When it comes to raising animals, that's something where I'm definitely not the foreign guy here to do that. That'd be someone like John Kapiski or Justice Walker. Those guys know all about that.
Are they guys on your team, or are they guys here on the chat?
No, they're kind of somewhat famous foreign people in Russia. Kapiski works. He works his own farm in a place called Petushki, which is in the Vladimirskaya region to the east of the Moscow region. And Justice Walker is out in the middle of Siberia. He has like a gigantic, over I think 100 hectare farm out there. He's doing big time. So
good. And I'm open to learning or but I don't know what you call it. Here they call it like HelpX or whatever, where you basically work for your room and board and you learn as you work, etc. It's a living job.
Well, you could maybe kind of do that, but you'd have to go out to the absolute middle of nowhere. Like maybe Justice would be a good person. He might actually let you do that because he has farmhands their whole families live on his farm. Like his farmhands are like his. It's almost like because Russia is again a medieval society, although no one believes it except me. It's almost like he's the lord of the manor, and he has his own serfs, or his own dedicated workers who work his land.
Bad, man. People knock the Middle Ages. It wasn't so bad, man.
No, I don't. Really I think one of the key things we have to do going forward is to remove all the Victorian era propaganda against the Middle Ages and have reassessment of it. It's a very interesting time period that lasted for a long time by accident. But anyways, I'm going to move on here, and I'm going to talk to a man called the Paradigm Shift. So Paradigm Shift, you are on the program. Remember, behold a chair. If you want to come back later, you can. So hello there, sir.
Hello, Tim. My question is, have you got questions similar to what Behold the Chair just asked you about migrating to Russia and settling in farms or rural areas? And if you have,
today. Don't worry, dude. Don't worry. If we repeat stuff, that's the whole point of this episode, is to kind of maybe repeat stuff or go back over stuff so that way the information's fresh. Don't worry about it. If I've already answered it like 3 months ago, who cares? I'll answer it again.
Oh yeah, and if other people have approached you, I just want to know, like, what percentage of people overall that you have interacted with in terms of moving to Russia have asked you, but they more focused on rural or not suburban, but outside suburban farming also? Like, what percentage of people approaching you?
I would say that you have to remember that I believe in the United States, only 2% of the American population actually deals with farming. Oh, well, this is America, but we're kind of comparing America to the West because it's generally people who speak English as a native language. So maybe it's not a good comparison, but let's just say roughly that's true in England and Australia and everywhere else, right? Well, I think about over a third or maybe half of the people who talk to me are kind of excited about going to the middle of nowhere and having their own territory and doing a little farming and gardening and stuff. So I would say that the people who are attracted to this kind of project or my work are definitely more, I don't know, rural or like to work with their hands more so than the national average. Like if you think about comparing 2% to maybe 33%, that's a huge difference.
Yeah, I just wanted to compare, like, to have a ballpark, because I was thinking maybe 1 to 5% maybe would approach you. So hearing 1/3 of the people, that is really
and that's one of the that's kind of one of the challenges of the village, because at first I thought to be kind of, maybe it would have been at first. When I was thinking of how to do this, I was thinking of having a lot less people, because I thought that maybe more people would be interested in farming. And it's kind of hard because you have these very different types of people. Because someone who's farming, they want the maximum amount of land. They want to go, big. They're like, Tim, minimum 5 hectares. Well, if we do minimum 5 hectares, then we have like 6 families. And that's the village. And it's kind of like, and that excludes the person I've mentioned a few times before who just wants the freedom to write without censorship. Well, see, that's kind of the problem. Like if I had like money and resources to do this, then maybe I actually could just buy the land and like have like a nerdy, brainy community where everyone just writes their articles on their computers, and a working man's community that has a bunch of space. But unfortunately, I'm really at the mercy of what I've been offered, and I don't want to particularly exclude one type of person or the other. Because, I don't know, I only work with my hands for fun. So,
Okay. I just wanted to like have a comparison, because I'm living here in Trinidad and Tobago. So I just trying to understand the whole, the mentality of the people between the US and Russia who want to go across. So I just want
one thing I want to say, Imam Dr. Jeho something, you're up next. I see you. But anyways, about like the mentality. Well, I think that the main thing is just that everyone's frustrated. Like, I've heard from foreigners I've never met this sort of thing of, it's like, wow, being in Russia, it's like being in the America I lost. So it's not just me that said that. There's people I've never met, and I've heard them say the same thing. And so I think in a lot of ways that's who's here. But also remember, just because I have my lovely and brutal American accent, right, that doesn't exclude the fact that there's people from all over the English-speaking world who are interested in this. Many a British accent has come through during these discussions. So, but yeah. But the one thing, though, I can say is that generally the people who are more interested in farming tend to be a little bit more hardcore. They tend to be a little more aggressive, because sometimes you get into this thing where, whatever your pet peeves are, I don't like wishy-washiness. And there's some people where, you'll be like, well, I don't know. It's like, I want to move, but I don't. And I kind of feel like I'm being repressed and living in a satanic nightmare, but I kind of like my job. And, so with that kind of thing, I don't really know what to, tell those people. But I do know generally it's just a fact. Like guys who've worked with their hands their whole lives, are just sort of more aggressive. And the problem is the word aggressive and aggression has a negative connotation, which is wrong. Aggression is what makes men men. And if you've built up your whole life working outside and stuff, you just generally have a lot more testosterone and aggression, and you're more decisive. So that's probably another sort of thing here. But anyways, that's kind of else of that. Got anything else? We're gonna head over to to our friend who may be an imam.
Okay, bye. Thank you, Tim.
All right, all the best to you. So here, let me take off the thingy there, the mute. Okay, hello, Imam. Doctor, hello. You should be on.
Hey, can you hear me?
Jehoshaphat. Oh, excuse me. I couldn't see the second. Dr. Jehoshaphat, I believe Cummings. Anyways, hello.
Yo, I'm late, so I just got I got a very basic question. First of all, you should tell Ron, maybe if he wants to help, if he's an investor, he should just put $80,000 in a couple intermediary bank accounts, and he'll get a free residency in Russia, so you can actually do that and help the help the village another way if you have money anyway.
Oh no. That doesn't exist. The amount of money that you have to do where it's like this investment thing, it's I'm pretty sure it's more than that. And I think it really depends on the region. And so if it was the Moscow region, that'd be a ton of money. That's a road that's only for the Lamborghini rich, I would say. That's a tough one. So
okay, so that leads to my main question, and apologies if it's redundant. Who owns the land? And what's is it? I know foreigners can't own agricultural land, so I guess you can farm on dacha land. What's the legal deal here? And do you have a lawyer?
The legal deal is that basically when the land gets subdivided, it'll be rent to own. So essentially the person signs a contract then with the government that they're going to go through the process of citizenship, and they have to pay rent on the land until that time. The rent will be something pathetic. I know the people in the northern village who are doing that pay something like $40 a year for these gigantic pieces of land that are bigger than the whole village itself. So it's going to be a pittance. And when they get citizenship, it will be transferred over. And that's how it's going to work.
I see. So is it dacha land that you can grow foodstuffs on?
The real challenge of this actually has been the zoning of it. Currently, it is zoned as raw farming land, which means you can't build a house on it. You can't establish a permanent address on it. And so one of the things that we're doing from the government, and one of the reasons why this project has been stuck for so long, in fact, it's really the main reason it's been stuck for so long, is this zoning issue. I was recommended by a, what would that be in English? Hold on. Suburban real estate lawyer. They exist here, apparently. And I paid her to do a breakdown and analysis of this problem and how to solve it. And she said that the easiest way would be to convert it to essentially go from being this raw farmland to being dacha land. That would be the legally easiest way to get it done through the government. There are a few other options. One of them is called IGS. And what is IGS? It's basically like single-family home, kind of like in America. That would be advantageous, but it would be legally harder to do. So I think that the whole dacha thing sort of is the best of both worlds. It allows you to have build more stuff there, build it how you want, maybe do your little gardening and all that stuff without any problems. But you can also register to live there, as I'm registered with a permanent address at a dacha myself. So it seems to be sort of the best of both worlds options.
Okay, so at that rate, would you be willing to have people in between countries or full-time only?
Oh, like I mentioned before, you probably didn't jump in. The Russian Constitution guarantees you freedom of movement, okay? So that means that if you, when you get citizenship, if you choose to spend a lot of time outside the country and you already have ownership of the land, there is absolutely nothing that I could do to you or the government or anybody. So okay. I could make up some kind of BS reason to try to keep you there, but the legality of the situation is you own land, you're a Russian citizen, you have freedom to travel as much as you like. If the thing is, if though you go down this process and you get a temporary residency permit, then a permanent residency permit, while you're on those permits, you must spend 6 months plus 1 day on the territory of the Russian Federation. But you do not have to spend that time specifically in the village or around the village or even in the same state as the village.
Okay, thanks for answering that. Yeah, I apologize about being redundant. My friends
No. These questions are good, dude. This is the whole reason we're doing this program, so that way people can have like this one program that sort of goes over the questions as they stand today. And so it's fine. Redundancy is great today. It's a great day for redundancy.
So what timeline did you guys identify for someone who's seeking the citizenship route? How many years would that take with living there 6 months plus 1 day?
If the governor doesn't betray us, and he does give all the people who are going to come here the exemption from needing to be in that immigration quota, it'll take you the time to file, so maybe a month or two, plus 4 months to get your temporary residency permit. So we'll count half a year. Then we add to it being on temporary residency for like a year and a half, or like 2 years. Permanent residency probably then adds like a year and a something maybe like 4 or 5 years to the pathway to actual citizenship. But once you get the permanent residency, you are essentially a Russian citizen in every way except for the following: can't buy a gun, can't vote, can't get drafted if that appeals to you, and you can, if you commit 3 crimes, you're out, you're gone forever. Okay. And so essentially when you get your permanent residency, you've basically already gotten citizenship for the most part. And that would take, I guess, like 2-ish years from start to finish.
All right, Tim. Thanks for that. Appreciate it.
Sure thing, man. Thanks for being here. And remember, if you're interested in this, don't worry. Like you may have not heard before. Send me your passport. Send me this idea of what you want to do with this village, economically or professionally, what you want to do in Russia. Just send it to me. I'll submit it with the documents. If you change your mind tomorrow, it doesn't matter. They're not going to be able to do anything to you. No one can force you to come here or force you to occupy a piece of land. It'll be cool. All right. So anyways, I will talk to you later. It was good talking to you. And I thought someone had their hand up. No. What's going on? Ron's back. Ron's on fire today. What's up, Ron?
Yes, sorry. I just wanted to speak to the gentleman that just asked because I actually through that process, through the residency and everything. So it's actually become, despite all of the political issues involved, it's actually become relatively easier. So when I went through it, it was a lot more complicated. And as Tim said, what you do is when you come here, you have to come on what's called a homestay visa. When you come on a homestay visa, you can immediately apply for.
Hold on. Homestay visa. If you know people in Russia who are willing to work out that homestay for you. Excuse me, sir. That is not
it's easy. It's easy. Come on. It's easy. I worked it out quite easily. Quite easily.
Who did it? Who did it? Who organized it?
My wife to be, and then
there you go. What if there is no wife to be?
Well, then
you're gonna organize that from America, not speaking Russian. I don't think that's gonna go over very well, my friend.
Probably a little hard. But nonetheless, if you can do that, it's temporary residency, which you can apply within 3 years for permanent residency. Permanent residency takes about 6 months. Once you get it, not only do you basically have all of the citizenship perks except for, and Tim, just to correct, you can vote, just not in federal elections, I believe is the law. You can vote for local elections. You can't vote for federal elections. At least that's the way it's
maybe. I don't know. Well, when I had it, no one told me anything about that, but that wasn't a real big priority for me. But
yeah, I know.
I definitely could only vote for the first time after getting citizenship. So,
but now the laws have changed, and you can, once you have permanent residency, you can immediately apply for citizenship.
Oh, there's no more waiting period anymore.
No, there isn't. No.
Oh,
so the minute you have permanent residency, you can go. Just you have to be able to pass a Russian-speaking exam, meaning that you know the basic things. I mean, really basic. You don't have to be able to recite, Dostoevsky in Russian. Once you do that, you can apply for Russian citizenship. That takes, after application, it's within 6 months. Once you get it, you're done. And you do not have to surrender your foreign citizenship. And that's as of 2020.
Oh, yeah, that was of 2020. So, that's why I had to get my citizenship via a lot of favors and presidential decree because I got it before that point in time. So
yes, and you don't have to do that anymore. So
yeah, so I guess in probably the timeline, you could actually maybe speed it up to being something like 3 years then, maybe, if you really
try,
hardcore.
yeah, you could probably do that. Mm-hmm.
All right,
absolutely.
Well,
especially if you get a good lawyer, yeah.
Good. Well, that's the thing, man. That's the thing, dude. Gotta talk to our buddy here, Timur, who we always support. So, anyways, let's see. Someone in the chat is talking about there's a lot of anti-Semitism in the chat. I kind of, Kathy, you're probably not listening, but I actually agree with you. I don't quite know what to do because we're sort of in a freedom of speech zone here. But there are some people that just too much of this criticism of the Jews as a whole, rather than criticizing Zionism as a unique voluntary phenomenon. So I guess we're going to have to maybe do something about that. We'll get our bot going on that because there's just too much of it. Too much. Let's see. Blah, blah, blah. I agree. Folks are no. I guess people are talking about other stuff. Okay. Compound bow is my next thing. I don't know, man. I don't even know how you get that here. I guess they probably sell them, but anyways. So, guys, it looks like we're kind of out of questions about the village. I don't see anyone putting their hand up. I don't see any. Oh, my gosh. Never mind. Aurelian is here. Hello. Hi. In your icon, you're pointing at a gate. Why?
Hello,
Aurelian.
In that picture, actually, I'm pointing to a statue of Peter the Great.
Oh, you are? Well, I don't see that part. Sorry.
Yeah, I cut it out. So my question is, just to make it quick, my fiance is actually Russian. Like, if I wanted to get residency, how would that work in my favor? Like, what can I do with her to make that process like smoother?
Okay. So with your fiance, fundamentally, your fiance and getting married to a Russian citizen is really one of the only ways to get around the immigration quota to get into Russia. So essentially, she doesn't make it easier. She essentially makes it possible. Okay. See what I mean? So what you should do is you should get married on the territory of the Russian Federation at a ZOGS. ZOGS is essentially it has many functions, but one of them is it marries people in the eyes of the government. So you can go there and pay the couple hundred rubles and get married officially, and you'll get a nice Russian marriage certificate that's from the Russian government, which means the Russian government will accept it for sure. And when you come here on a visa, be it a homestay visa like we just talked about or some other tourist visa or whatever, then you need to immediately go and file for temporary residency. Immediately. Like some people want to do a certain act with their new wife the day after they go, no honeymoon. Your honeymoon is going to be the migration services because you got to get going on this stuff. All right.
Right.
So if you don't understand it, this is kind of a process people have heard me talk about before a lot.
Yeah.
But if it's scary or unknown, you can talk to my good buddy Timur Beslangurov, the ultimate immigration lawyer, and you can pay him money and he'll do it for you. If you're kind of low on cash, remember Russian lawyers work for a lot less money.
Right.
If you're still on cash, then it's going to be kind of the your fiance's or new wife's duty to kind of help you out, because if bureaucracy is rough and you got to prove, depending on where you live, it's going to be a different process. There should be migration centers all over the country, but you're going to have to prove that you don't have any diseases, prove you have a basic knowledge, a very, very basic knowledge of Russian, prove that you have some sort of money so that you're not homeless, prove that you have a place to live, and then later on you have to prove you have no criminal background, so on and so forth. So if you're in the United States, for example, you should really get a criminal background check with an apostille on it from Washington while you're there, because that'll definitely help. You'll need that at some point. But I believe they're only fresh for 6 months. So you kind of have to worry about the timing there. So again,
this is this is a long process, essentially. And that's
why
you insist on starting it right away as soon as I get there. Does it make it any easier? Like, I was actually able to visit Russia because I'm a dual citizen of another country. So, and with that dual citizenship, I have visa-free entry into Russia, and I could probably get an extension. Is that going to help me?
I'm sorry, but I have to ask what country.
Oh, it's a South American country. So it'd be
that doesn't do anything.
Colombia.
That doesn't matter.
No. Okay.
No. There's no special deal with that.
Okay. Cool. Oh, cool.
But the thing is that you kind of have to then pick essentially which citizenship is really your primary citizenship in terms of dealing with the Russian government, because you're going to become a new legal entity in the Russian system, and that legal entity has to understand sort of like where you're from. And to be honest, like, I don't know, if you're from a South or Central American country that's a lot smaller and maybe a little bit less bureaucratic than, say, America, that might actually be easier in some ways, because a lot of people have a lot of trouble getting the federal background check with the apostille on it. Like from Washington, a lot of people have trouble with that, and you might not need to do that from Central America. But the thing is, you can't mix and match. Like when you're here, when you get for example, you get your temporary residency permit, you and your wife can shed a few tears of joy, and then they're going to put basically, or at least in the olden days, I think it's the same way now, they essentially kind of put like a stamp in your foreign passport that says that you have temporary residency. But the thing is, it only goes in one passport, not both.
Ah.
So you kind of have to pick one. You see?
All right, so I stick with one, and that's it.
And how that's written is also important, because remember, like, so for example, in Central America, I've always heard that like people in the Spanish-speaking countries tend to have like 4 names, like they have 2 last names. Is that true?
Yeah. In my case, I only have 3, though. I don't have a long one. I have more similar to what we have in the U.S.
So you essentially have like a first, middle, and last name then.
Yeah. So it's like similar, I guess, to the Russian one, where they have like a
they'll tell you that basically what they do is they say, because you have no patronymic name. So in Russia, you have no middle name. You have 2 first names, like Jean-Pierre or something like that.
Right.
Like I'm Timothy Denise is my first name according to them, and no middle name and last name. So that's probably what they do with you, because I'm not quite sure how they deal with like someone who has 4 names. I think the Russian system might break and fall apart under the weight of that. So it's good that you're not part of that club there. But one of the things is, I guess you can get married overseas, but then the thing is, then you have to kind of like translate this marriage certificate and prove to the Russian government that's legitimate. And oh boy. So it'd be much easier to get married here. And in fact, I think it's probably within the realms of legality to get married there and here separately. I don't think that there's a problem with that. I don't think that that's against the rules. It's nothing shady. So yeah.
Yeah, it looks like my better option is to just do it in Russia.
Where's your fiance from? What region of Russia?
She's from the north, Arkhangelskaya Oblast.
Yeah, Arkhangelskaya. But anyways, yes. So the thing is, well, you're going to have to then, why don't you tell her, my dear, they always say that if you're a really confident man's man, women will want to do little favors for you. So tell her, honey, listen, you're going to have to go on to Yandex, and you're going to have to look in the Murmanskaya, or Arkhangelskaya, region, and you're going to have to find out about where I'm going to need to go to do all this immigration stuff. Where am I going to go to do all these blood and urine and other tests and x-rays and all this stuff, and what kind of documents I'm going to need from the bank, because I think it's changed since I did it. When I did it, you just had to prove that you had an income. That was more than pathetic. It was really easy, but I think that may have changed. The standards might be higher now. So you should really tell her to start really looking into that, because if you're married from her, that means she probably has some place to live up there, right? Some apartment or something.
Yeah,
so does. That's where you're going to be registered, which means if you're registered in that state, using American terminology, if you're registered to live in that state at that address, that means you'll have to do all the bureaucracy there.
Okay. Yeah, that would make sense. Keep it local.
Yeah. I mean, it does. I mean, obviously, you tell them the government of a state, I'm going to live in your state, and then you try to do the bureaucracy somewhere else. That's
yeah, it's a little weird.
I'm going to talk to Ann next, but Aurelian, do you have anything else, or is that all?
No, that's it. Thanks, Tim. Appreciate it.
Super, man. If you want to join the village, though, that's open to you. It doesn't matter if you're registered in a different state, okay? So send me a passport if you want to join the village. Anyways, take care, man. Let's talk to Ann Kirkpatrick. We've talked to Ann before. Hello.
Hi there, Tim. Hi there. Okay, so I have just been able to listen to little bits and pieces,
Sure.
And I appreciate it so much, Tim. But how could I contact you personally? Just email. How is it possible?
That is, it's at Tim Kirby Russia. Hold on. Where am I just myself in this program of programs? Hold on. Settings. Is that where I am? Okay. So, Ann, I'm going to send you a message right now.
Okay.
And that's me. And I sent a message, and that's me. So you can contact me there. And that's where you can send, if you want to send like a passport or your plan for the future and all that, or do something else.
Or just to talk. Okay, and all of this is
yeah.
safe, Tim. I mean, God, Lord knows the sanctions and all that, but it's all safe to do that, to communicate
Pardon?
with you. I mean, with the sanctions and so forth, I assume it's just safe to communicate with you that way, right?
Well, you have to, first, issue number one. We live in a time of complete illegality and complete immorality. So if you think in the context of a system in which laws, like, okay, like the founding fathers, why'd they do this Bill of Rights thing? Where'd this come from? It came from a concept that there are certain things that we're just all going to agree you can't do to people. And there are certain things that are just irrational and wrong. So, for example, that's why we have freedom of association in theory in the United States, freedom of association, because just because you sometimes interact with someone, just because they're your cousin, you can't be punished for that, right? You have to prove in a court of law that, back in the day, you actually literally directly helped Osama bin Laden do something bad somewhere, right? As opposed to just shaking his hand once because he seemed like a nice guy, okay? Now, what's happening in the United States, and one of the reasons why people want to live in Russia is because of the breakdown of this. So I can't even really tell you, because laws don't mean anything. The laws all contradict each other. No one believes in them. No one believes in these principles anymore. So who knows? Maybe we'll get in trouble for talking to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
In a strict legalistic constitutional sense, absolutely not 0%. When you're living in a world of madness where there is no legality, who knows?
Well, thank you for what you do. Please continue to do your best so that rational, good, normal people rule the day. Thank you.
I'm trying.
Okay.
But
we'll see how it goes.
I'm doing my best here. Hopefully we can at least get this village going, and hopefully there's some other projects that could. There's one thing coming up that may actually make a little wave in American and Russian relations. We'll see if it happens. If it does happen, it'll happen in 8 days. So anyways, next. Oh, Christopher. Yay. I'm always happy to talk to Christopher. Hello, Christopher.
Yeah, howdy. I got here late. Could you give us a quick synopsis of what's going on with the Village Project?
A quick synopsis. Okay, of like the meeting, or what's next, or what?
Both. Like I said, I just got in. I just got the chat.
Okay, so quick synopsis was the meeting. Me, Timur, someone from the governor's team. They said it's go time, baby, and we're going to have to try to put together. They're going to actually help organize this project that's going to get sent to get final approval to finally change the status of the land, get the electricity, get this whole thing subdivided, get all that going. Okay, so that whole process, right? So that is good, which means we sort of have a week to again get everyone who said passports in the past. That's good. I've got them. But everyone who wants to participate, I don't have your passport, you got to send it. But everyone, past participants, future participants, has to give me a 3 or 4, excuse me for belching, a 3 or 4 sentence, basically synopsis of what they're going to do professionally and economically in Russia. Like someone's going to come to Russia. What are you going to do? Like you say, my name is John. I have 4 children, and I want to do a bit of farming on my land, and I want to do carpentry. I love carpentry, and I'm going to build a garage to do woodworking on my property. Something like that, to find out what you're going to do in the village, why you're bothering to do this, but mostly from an economic standpoint.
Okay. One other aside. I moderate a pro-Russian SMO chat, or used to, before the owner closed it down because it got tired of the junk he was getting.
Yeah.
I found that if you try to be reasonable with people who are obsessed about color, obsessed about Jews, or they're just pro-Ukrainian, you can't be nice to them. They will just continue to pound on their bonnet.
Yeah, in fact, Chris, I just want to mention that.
Generally, I just
one thing. Let me cut you off. Let me cut you off here. One thing I want to do is, in the next few days, I'm going to make a long post that's going to sort of establish the rules going on here. That we really have to. You can criticize again with this because there's a lot of things. We have a person who's Jewish who was born into this ethno-religious group, and you have a Zionist, and being a Zionist is a voluntary choice to believe in this sort of somewhat, depending on the person, it can be very supremacist or a bit smidge supremacist sort of worldview, but it's a voluntary thing. And so in the chat, when you're criticizing someone who has a voluntary belief system, or like the Azov neo-Nazis, that's a voluntary thing. They weren't born into it. They're born in like Western Ukraine or whatever, but that doesn't mean that they had to join that organization. So I think that we're going to have to make that distinction because I can see people getting uncomfortable, and even I'm getting uncomfortable. I just hate moderating chats. Yeah, I hate this shit.
I understand. I like freedom of speech too, but there's some people that if you let them go, they will just not stop. And Zionism is completely different from being Jewish. But when I ran across them, I just commissar them immediately because if you try to use Rosebot to restrict words, they just speak around it. You knew what they were talking about, and they just wouldn't stop.
And also, then you start to do this thing where, it's sort of like, okay, we feel that there are people who come on and all they do is just, I'm sorry, I swear too much, guys, but they shit on the Jews, okay? Well, then what are we going to do? Ban the word Jew? That's ridiculous.
Yeah,
or ban all negative words.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Rosebot has been programmed to do that just to stop these idiots, but it doesn't stop them. So at times you just have to be harsh and just shoot first. But that's up to your chat.
Well, you know what? I think then I'm a little bit mentally burnt out. Either tomorrow or the day after, I'll make the official post where it'll be sort of like from this moment on, we're going to be a lot more strict about this stuff because we can't have a completely uncomfortable environment. And like I said, I get sick of this stuff too because it's also a lot of it is irrational. Like it's not.
Yeah, well, moderation makes a good chat. You can't avoid it. Anyway, thank you for the information on the project. We'll see.
And thank you for everything that you do, sir, to help me out. So, all right, guys, it looks like we are finally probably out of questions. So there's 33 more comments in the chat. People are either happy or they're arguing. Gun laws in Russia are better than the UK. Yeah, from what I understand, yes, but I'm not an expert on the UK. Any documents you need, apostilled, just apostilled documents, just your, the criminal background check for some reason. You also have to send them your fingerprints for that, but you can do it in San Diego. Okay, people are just going way off topic here. Okay. Anyways, guys. Well, I think I've been online for a while, so I'm going to get going. There seems to be no one who has any more questions about the village. But anyways, for any of all of you that have watched this, I think I've repeated myself enough, and I think you know what to do. Give me your passports and give me your sort of economic plans for the near future. Tim Kirby, very tired, signing out. Better stop the recording first. That'd be bad to lose it. There we go.